Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blitz Racing Network. Tonight, in an important night and at a wild card race, it's time to see from our six drivers that made it this far into the playoffs. Well, two are being knocked out, and we have just one more race after Talladega. That will be our final four. But tonight, it's the cutoff race for the Alabama 150 as the drivers are underway with qualifying. Let's take a quick look at what the point standings are looking like for the drivers this evening. After last week's run at Richmond and after Texas's race, the round of six has been pretty dramatically filled, but there's only one driver that's officially locked in for our final four. That is the driver on top of our list. That's Elliott Drummond after his win last week at Richmond after the chaotic bashing and knocking around. And Jacob Elkins going to be in second place currently, highest of our points leaders at the moment with 18. That is a huge gap to be working with here this evening. Merrick Watchorn, though, he's been caught up with a couple of messes. That of the 91 will start with an EOL this evening after his intentional wrecks late at Richmond. Patrick Hernandez going to be our bubble driver, 10-point difference over that of Brendan Gregg, and Doug Tuttle was given a 10-point deduction after an intentional wreck that put everyone closed up and into that of an overtime attempt. So that of the 86 is going to start also with an EOL and practically in a must-win scenario. Can't wait to give you all the coverage again here on the Blitz Racing Network. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Matt Dyer. Matt, drivers are starting to get gridded up. How are you feeling here tonight as we're about to go super speedway racing for 57 laps?
I think we're feeling, pretty good. I think it's going to be, obviously with a super speedway being the cutoff race, things are going to be very, very close. But even with them being very, very close, it's still a very important not to get too pushy here at the beginning, because it might put you in a very tricky situation later on in the race.
Yeah, I mean, tonight is certainly the driver is going to be testing now how this truck's going to work out. Again, this is not the official iRacing setup. Merrick Watchorn every single week makes a new setup, and he said that he really started to try to trim this truck out to be as fast as it can be. Which, if it's fast, it means that it can be on the edge. So any type of bump could get you out of shape. But you see drivers getting in their spots. Let's take a look at our starting grid this evening as we've got a lot of new drivers. As it's going to be the 51 had his debut last week. It's going to be that of Brady Waldman, going to be in that 51. Then it's going to be also newcomer from last week, that of Alec Deffens, going to be in second. Riley Marbello going to be in third place. Jesse Whitington's going to be in that of fourth for the three machine. Merrick Watchorn, he's going to be qualified fifth, but has that of an EOL. Chris Van Masti going to be in that of sixth. Again, a lot of new people. We're going to mess up on these names. We're going to do our best as we've got ourselves in the next week. Seventh going to be that of Michael Malek's going to be in that of seventh for the 00. Maurice Million going to be in eighth place with that of Jacob Elkins in ninth for the 9, who is our highest of the points currently. Of those that are not locked in officially, he's going to need a great day. Make sure that he's good. With John Buwalda Jr. in 10th, that of Joey Hickok is going to be back racing in the 73 and 11th place. Nas Patton's going to be in that of 12th for the 54. Then going to be back in 13th. Going to find ourselves with Elliott Drummond, who is also going to be given an EOL. He'll start the tail end of the line. With Tyler Farrar going to be in 14th position. That of Joshua Strauss going to be in 15th. Doug Tuttle, he'll have an EOL. He's up to 16th position with Patrick Hernandez in 17th. Brandon Gregg, who needs to have a miracle run and be up front all night long, he'll be in 18th position with Dennis Crosby going to be in 19th. 20th going to be that of Doug Betts, as well as going to be seeing Kyle Smith back on track for the 55, all the way back in 21st position. Zach Miller is going to be in that of 22nd position, as not on the grid. It's going to be in 23rd for the 4 machine of James Wisdom, as well as going to be that of Brennan Carroll, all the way back in 24th. And also going to be missing out on the 14, who missed out on the grid, of Chaz Brewer. As that is going to be your 25 drivers potentially racing here this evening. Again, the 4 and the 14 both missed the grid. We'll see if they decide to start out on pit road. As Matt, the drivers hit turn number 3. Again, a long way to go. Still, we get that green flag run as they've got the travel still going by. What are you expecting to see here this evening? Talladega, the 57 laps, one fast repair. It looks like the drivers could make it only one stop if we stay green, but who knows if we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I fully expect to see at least one or two. I think at the start everyone's really just gonna feel out, see how really everyone is. So I don't expect it to get too much, but it's definitely gonna be dicey. I think with the new trucks and their new front end, it makes it really kind of hard to push. You have to be very very strict on how close you are to someone, but here we are, like about to go green.
I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so you might be hearing my voice. I'm either going to sound like I'm going through puberty or if I'm just a nasally person. As we are green and the flag waves, drivers release. 51 already to be finding himself clear as the start of the final race of the round of 6 to see who's going to be making it to our final 4. Racing next week at Old Atlanta for the championship. It's on as we're going to be seeing drivers picking and choosing where to go. But this field, 23 drivers in total made the grid, and they're already starting to make their move to shuffle down to the inside and make sure that they get to the back of the line for those that just don't feel comfortable up front.
Yeah, it's a good strategy here. At the beginning, kind of just watching and waiting. Find the people you think you want to work with, and just really just wait for the right opportunity. But also, by being in the back, you're not going to use as much fuel, so that's going to put you in a much better spot to where maybe you don't have to take as much fuel like at the end, and that can help you promote more up towards the front later on.
As here tonight, drivers going to be just taking it easy, trying to keep themselves out of trouble the best that they can. And with more of the field being all newcomers, this is practically like a brand new season for some of these drivers. This is, showing good signs of a league that's growing. When you get to the end of the season, your field practically doubles in the second to last race of the season, but it's a super speedway race. This makes sense. It's a usual thing to see at these types of tracks, but Matt, with a race like Talladega, so many newcomers, this is going to be difficult for a lot of drivers just to learn and trust. And 57 laps, not a lot of laps compared to what other leagues usually run for their races. This is a lot more of a shorter, laps wise compared to other leagues that run throughout the years. So I'm curious on how you would figure out how to trust the drivers around you when you haven't seen any of them for the whole entire year.
Yeah, I think you almost kind of have to be, go with what you know, and really just work with the people around you. As we see, the two teammates, Merrick and Hernandez, have really worked together all season, and they're starting to head towards the front.
Both those drivers going to be finding themselves inside of our front top 4 coming into the night in the championship points, and both trying to point their way in, and the two just muscling their way forward, showing, hey, a two-truck tandem certainly does still work as long as you can get up front. And now going to be side by side for that second place and potentially the lead. And it's going to be the 19 to Patrick Hernandez, who is the driver, our bubble driver, in 4th in points. This is a great place and position to be if he's being pushed by his teammate at this current time. And Merrick Watchorn, I mean, he certainly is a driver that you'd like to have as your pusher with the amount of speed that he's shown throughout this year.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Obviously, he's the one that built the setup too, so he's the most comfortable. We see Hernandez get a little bit squirrely. Like that. That's one of the tough things about these new trucks is how the front ends don't exactly mash up like it used to be. So you really have to be square on the person in front of you, like, otherwise they will get squirrely, like just like Hernandez.
We're already starting to see a couple of different packs kind of being shown. We got our front group that is our top 12, and then 13th on back, there's a cluster of about 6 drivers, and then there's about 4 that are further on back. Just kind of showing the differences of this front group. They're going to be most likely staying side by side for the majority of the night until it's time to either calm down because they got too aggressive or having to come into pit road. Those drivers further on back, kind of the position that I would prefer to be in, of giving yourself plenty of space so when the big one strikes, you got plenty of time to slow down and get out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that we will be looking at is how dominant is that middle line. You'll see that bottom line kind of like hold its own if you can get 3 to 4 people, really lined up down there to really hold your spot. But that outside line, you just carry so much more of a momentum as we saw in like the real life race. So I fully expect that middle line to be the most dominant line when it comes to passing.
And we saw that you can just make the move on that middle groove by yourself, with just yourself and another driver, just two trucks going forward. That's what Patrick Hernandez and Eric Watchburn showed to us. But obviously, you can only make that type of a move work just a handful of times in a race. Otherwise, you're going to have to worry about the major thing here tonight. That's got to be the engine.
Yeah, absolutely. Overheating is going to be a big deal. Obviously, it also depends on what their tape they're going to be running. Yes, they are a fixed league, but it's really going to come down to what tape America decided to put on this.
Was it just enough to make you go flying, or do you have to constantly be looking at your temps? As right now, the 19, Patrick Hernandez getting the surge, getting the push, and will it be at turn number 4? Here he comes, the 19. And as well, you're going to notify by our playoff drivers. You see the green on their spoiler bumper, on their spoiler banner, and also on their splitter. That is you're giving your indication of those are your playoff drivers. You can see your teammates taking the front two of Patrick Hernandez and Merrick Watchorn. And then behind them is also the 86 of Doug Tuttle that has found himself moving up to 12th place. But newcomers trying to make the outside lane work. That's going to be Joshua Strauss getting a little bit squirrely for himself, but holding on as a well in the middle. Going to be Patrick Hernandez losing touch to his teammate.
Yeah, it seems like he came off the bottom and a little
Oh,
bit scary, but
boy.
it seemed like he came off the bottom a little bit too much, and Merrick did not want to give up too much momentum by letting him back
Four
in.
wide.
So
Four wide, we can stick here, but obviously not a place that you want to be here in the early going. We're just 7 laps in, could make it 8, and drivers stuck in the sucker hole. They're going to be 3 wide, 2 rows deep. It's going to be the 6 stuck in the middle with that of Joshua Strauss as well as Patrick Hernandez. The outer lane going to be finding a little bit of no man's land.
ooh,
It's
we
going
got
to
to
be
clear the
St.
ball.
Joe. No, and there they go. That third lane came down, contact, and a first yellow flag comes waving here tonight. Oh man, just like that, contact issues. And looking at the drivers that are heavily involved, only got a couple of drivers with required damage. It's going to be Riley Marbello and John Bualda Jr. Both required damage for themselves. Both are able to run, so they should be able to make it at least to pit road to utilize their fast repair. But Matt, don't want to be having to use that safety net this early on, as we are about to see everyone as NASA Patton gonna be calling it a night here for the 54. And whew, interesting night for these drivers in the early going.
It was kind of hard to see like what was all happening, but it seemed like maybe they got a little bit squirrely.
Hope for the best, and then poof, there they go. And Nos Patton was removed from the session. And he just clipped, taken out. I gotta say, Matt, kind of interesting to see that the 54, after that contact and incident, yes, aggressive. He was running a little bit of side draft. I think he was trying to make sure that he was clear, and then gets removed from the session. Never even had a chance to try to repair himself. He's just gone.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a little bit of a netcode issue, but a good avoidance by Doug Toto just to avoid the wreck.
Yeah, Doug's certainly trying his best. And awkward timing, awkward moment. And you hate to see, because of that incident. And yeah, I mean, rewatching it, Matt, netcode was involved there. Aggressive side drafting. The 54, again, never even had a chance or an opportunity to get back into pit road because they were removed from the session. Even though I think, again, it's one of those incidences. Oh, hard contact. going to be made for that of riding on board with, I believe that was Marabello, I think that was, with
Yeah, right.
52.
Arabella just had nowhere to go. He actually went so far down. He was on the grass and had no control and just slid into the 54.
Yeah, and again, a note for the 54, removed from the session, as Merrick Watchhorn, from his point of view, thought that the 54 came down and was racing too aggressive, and decided to give him the boot, even though it was just netcode racing and everyone was pretty, neat to their P's and Q's. It just was an awkward situation that when Patrick Hernandez got shoved in the middle and then the six got moving, jockeying around. It just was a weird situation where sometimes it just gets a little too ramped up in a moment and calamity can happen when everyone's on track. This track, yes, it's big, it's wide, it's one of the notified as one of the easier tracks to run, but at the same time, when things get hairy, it goes crazy in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, absolutely. With this early caution, it definitely makes it a lot easier to potentially do a one stop. So it's pretty much throws strategy kind of out the window. But now you got to find who you want to work with and determine when you want to come in. When you think the best time to come in is, because the sooner you come in versus the other people, the more fuel you have in your car, the lower your rear end sits, and the less that's going to be dragging, and the faster you'll go.
I'm just curious also on for drivers, everyone did come in topped off on fuel, and they're good in that fashion. On who will decide try to save extreme on their fuel and try to push it out even further than they can right now. And again, this is a little bit too far out to try to even make it from here, but curious on how far they want to push out that risk is troubles for the five machine of John Buwalda Jr. Looked like he did not press his fast repair button. His engine blew up. The five gonna have to sit in pit road to fully repair that engine.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate for him, for him today. I had high hopes for him today, with the potential opportunity to grab some good points today. So unfortunate.
And a couple of drivers did have to use their fast repair already. That is going to be Riley Marbello, who rode on board with 52, had nowhere to go when he ran into that Anaz Patton, and as well going to be the three machine of Jesse Willington, who's going to be using a fast repair, who is up in eighth place. So we'll see how the three can try to move their way forward. As up front, going to be Alec Daffin, and this number one machine, 48 on track, obviously has some speed, can be up front. Curious also what the 51 are going to do to work with one another, but Patrick Hernandez as well as Merrick Watchhorn split up from one another. Now they've got to make a hard decision. Do they want to try to group up, or do we see Patrick Hernandez try to defend and fend for himself up front?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because obviously we know, those two can work together. But really, it's also a time to find who else can you work with, who else can you trust, to potentially be there like at the end to help you, get to that spot that you want to be in. So yes, you want to work with your teammates, but also throughout the race, you got to find other people that you can trust and to have them help you.
Tonight is the second Super Speedway race of the season, counting that of Daytona, where John Lynch found himself getting to victory lane. Elliott Drummond got second. Doug Tuttle found himself third. And curious to see what Doug Tuttle is going to be bringing up front for himself. Again, that 86 in a practically a must-win scenario here this evening. And how will the other playoff drivers try to hold out? The only one that's in a comfortable spot is going to be that of Elliott Drummond. But up front, it is time for the 51 in the one to get us back to green flag racing. As the green flag hits the air, here we go for that Alabama 150 green once again as we start that lap number 12. As drivers already going to be on the inside trying to get themselves out of the way. Up front, it's going to be that of Alec Duffin's going to be finding himself in a comfortable spot. As on the outside, going to be that of Wildman, as well as going to be seeing that of the six of Strauss trying to work with one another and see if they can make a power move. But on the inside, just keeping himself in a comfortable spot, the double zero of that of Mailcock's going to be just sitting in wait for himself, see what he wants to do as he peaks high, giving a little bit of air to that front bumper. But it's the driver in third in line on the inside that I'm most intrigued to see how they're going to run. Running the Mountain Dew number 9, it's going to be that of Jacob Elkins that's trying to just sit. And I like where the nine's at. Just sit up here up front and wait to see who's going to make the mistakes to try to make some passes.
Yeah, absolutely. He's almost been Mr. Consistency here in the playoffs. He seems to have taken that title away from Hernandez, but you know, Elkins has been in prime position each race. Like he hasn't been there at the start like he has been here, but like he's almost pulling the Kevin Harvick mentality of I have to be in the right position at the end.
Hey, if you can, get any type of reference to the closer, that's always a good thing to have, especially when you know you've got speed at the end of the day in the 9. Currently just holding out where he's at as the double zero, putting the bumper to that 48 machine in front. Duffin just holding strong, and there's not complete contact. They're using that air bubble in the pocket to push one another along. At the same time, one little mistake could be costly for these drivers up front, especially with how much wiggling I'm seeing from this double zero.
But you always but that is kind of like give and take here at Dega and really all the super speedways is yes, you want to push them as hard as you can, but the more harder you push, the likelihood of something is going to happen is going to be tough.
Well, if you want a little bit of a taste on what it's like to be following these drivers, there's one that's going to give us a great picture, and that's going to be the driver of the 44, Maurice Gilmillion. He's boxed in. He's got a competitor behind him that's hunting for the playoffs, a driver to his outside, and also in front of him, all playoff contenders boxing in the 44. But on that outside groove, Merrick Watchorn, he is taking off at this current moment. As we ride on board with the 44, get to see the two lines trying to march their way as their top six, trying to see how fast they can really push these trucks. But Matt, this camera, top of the roof, kind of giving you a little bit of deceptive view of what the actual drivers are seeing for themselves.
Yeah, you really what you can only see from inside the car is really only just the back end of the person in front of you. You cannot see where the other people are in front of him. And it really makes it difficult to make adjustment if there's a wreck in front of you. So you really have to be, very communicative of like what's around you to know exactly what's going on.
As you see that of the Spino number 73, Joey Hickok's able to be moving forward. Also, here comes the 3 of Jesse Wellington, going to be making that charge forward. There's the 22 of Dennis Crosby. This is a race that always is fun for some. For most, they are feeling miserable coming to Talladega. It feels like for the drivers that this is their one opportunity. It's a wild card race. They love these super speedway racetracks. But Matt, it always seems like the drivers that love everywhere else absolutely hate Talladega when you come here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more. I wouldn't say it's more of a not a very skilled race because obviously it does take some skills, to put yourself in the right position. But it kind of levels the playing field, for everyone, and it kind of puts maybe the guys who don't have the natural pace of like a Elliott, or Merrick, really to be able to race with them and put them in a spot to where they even have a chance to win as well.
And right now, big kudos to that 91 of Merrick Watchorn. You saw it on the picture when we were going through the trioval. The outside, the right outside of the 9, right on the side body panel, really scrubbed in with some damage there after contact with another driver. Curious for the 91. Looks like it's not hurting him too bad, as that was why he dropped deeper in the field, was trying to get that damage repaired as much as he can. And Matt, we're right back to the troublesome spot. We're 3 wide as Joey Hickok stuck on the outside.
Yeah, I think maybe he's trying to do something to see if someone will go with him, but sadly at this point, no one really wants to go 3 wide just yet. But or maybe he could be dropping back to go find a teammate to help him drive back up because I know Elliott is back in the pack.
Elliott Drummond back all the way mired in 20th position. Not a bad driver to be sticking around as up front, drivers starting to get a little bit more racy for themselves as our front about that of 10 willing to be side by side as see here of Joe Hickok falling back to the 2 with Brandon Gregg. Gregg going to be utilizing a new wrap job this evening and curious on if that's going to give the 2 the luck that he needs because Brandon Gregg, last round, the round of 8, really kind of shocked me on how consistent he was running, was able to bump out that of Patrick Hernandez, and also was just about to knock out Doug Tuttle, but Tuttle snuck his way into the next round of the playoffs. But Patrick Hernandez, again, was given a second life with Jono Lynch backing out in the entry of round number 6, which for that of the 19, he's trying to utilize all that he can to stay in the playoffs. Drivers continue to stay side by side up front. It's going to be that a Wildman who's going to be up in that lead position for the 51 machine, but here comes that of Strauss in the 6, going to be making that outer lane work as he's going to have Watchhorn as well as the 3 of Wellington going to be trying to give a bump, and Dennis Crosby got to be careful. Do not push the pusher, but it's sometimes it can be difficult with the speeds that these drivers are hitting up to that of 180, almost 190, and some drivers they feel like if they're in other cars they can almost hit 200 miles per hour, but these trucks get so close to 190 at the entry of these corners.
Yeah, you are putting a lot of trust in that person. You know, being the first and second car like in the group is not so much pressure, but you're really relying on that third person because you cannot push the pusher. You're really hoping that they to stay as close as they can to the guy like in the middle and not push him too much. But you're putting a lot of trust in him to try to get you to the front.
And drops to the inside, gonna be that of Strauss. And Matt, I mean, that's one of the more things that's always interesting to watch. I feel like you watch drivers drop to the bottom after making the pass for the lead, and it's always curious when you've made the pass on the outside, why are you giving up that speed in the middle ground to go to the bottom? And you see it happen over and over again. In my mind, I'm always thinking, why not just hold that lane while other drivers are just thinking, I want to lead that inset groove?
A big portion of it is that person behind you, maybe is overheated. You maybe give them a chance to cool down their engine by dropping down and giving them a lot of fresh air. So it's kind of a give and take, and having that understanding that yes, this person pushed me up here, and I'm gonna return the favor of giving them clean air to cool down their engine.
Gives them another chance to try to fight to even make pass on you as we're on lap 21 here this evening. We've got ourselves watching these laps just tick away. Still plenty of great racing action this evening as we're inching closer and closer to halfway. You are watching the Twigi iRacing series here on the Blitz Racing Network as drivers doing a little bit of
Oh
dancing.
no!
Oh no, they're wrecking behind through the grass, and even more drivers going to be collected. They stay on the apron. They're not on the racing surface. Now they're going to be drifting up, and the yellow flag waves as the big one strikes here on lap 21 to 22.
It seems like some of the guys that were staying towards the back and kind of waiting for the mess to happen, kind of almost just got caught up and stuff now.
Hearing the radio, drivers could have been reacting to the 51 of Brady Wildman, who was having issues for himself, whereas iRacing froze up and drivers were reacting around him because of his car bouncing around or just reacting in a non-regular incident. But the main issue was seeing some drivers getting some contact with one another. As drivers are just, you see the contact blasting on the outside. And Doug Betts really was the driver that got tapped by the 55. And away they went. That was similar spots and positioning where the 51 is. I think drivers just reacting to a ghost car and taking one another out. And then what's interesting, Matt, is after that incident that we were watching is that of Brennan Carroll. After the first initial wreck happened, reacted to that incident and came up and ran into another driver and wiped himself out and Maurice Million as below the double zero, just nowhere to go. He gets tagged up and watch the field go through the grass. Well, we knew a couple of cautions were going to strike, and that is exactly what we got to see so far this evening. Second caution so far as this race continues on. Matt, I'm going to need you to take over for the next couple of minutes. I have to step away, but I will be right back in about 5 minutes.
All right. Yeah, it really just seems like a very interesting. I'm not really sure like what happened. Almost looked like the 55, maybe try to squeeze his way in there, but yeah, it's kind of hard to see. Yeah, like we see the 51, like kind of, but it seems like the 33 just kind of just checked up when not sure really who was in front of him, but yeah, it just seems like there was just a massive checkup in the 55 had nowhere. But I hope you guys are having a great evening so far. If you haven't done so, we do have a poll up in the chat to see if anyone is saying will anyone below the cutoff line win their way in the championship for the two below are obviously Brendan Gregg and Doug Total are the two people below the cutoff line. So are either of those two going to get it, or will maybe potentially someone be outside the playoffs are also going to win this? They like you never know with um with how Dega goes. Really anyone has a potential to win. So, but so far a decent nine for Alex to stay up towards the front. Um, It really so has Brady. So there's some people, and I'm surprised, with how much, with how hard of a hit, that Elkins took. Maybe he doesn't want to use his fast strategies yet. And he's staying up front. So, like a good job by but really, it was just kind of really an interesting wreck. But hopefully, the 51, can get his stuff together.
And I am back, Matt. Thanks for covering for me as we are on lap 24 of 57, closing in on halfway as these drivers close in. Second big one of the night, and so far, only one driver out of this race, and that was not Nos Pattinson. It was booted out of the server after our first incident.
Yeah, Sam. Do you remember like how much the fuel run was? Was it pretty close?
The fuel run was around, I believe it's around 20 to 25. They're close to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, with how many laps remaining and what the fuel window is. Is when will people pit? Like, you want to be one of the first ones, you want to be one of the last ones, but also you don't want to be too early to where maybe you come down with one or two people and you kind of get stuck out there and have the whole pack. Still have a lot of people, pulling away from
Yeah, I mean, also, if you're leading constantly, you're not saving fuel at all. So, drivers got to be careful on that. As pace car is off, drivers into the tri-oval, and we are back to green flag racing here for the Alabama 150. Going to be that of three machine leading the way up front, but again, who will make it too wide, and already starting to see drivers just stay in line. I think, Matt, the timing of this yellow, the fact that we're not seeing anyone really trying too wide might be an indication on what drivers are thinking in this moment, which is, hey, we'll just stay behind one another, maybe save some fuel.
Yeah, like as you say that, we do see the Braden Carroll Racing team, kind of just wanting to be up more towards the front. So as you see them, get back together. But yeah, I think just as like as we say, they're all starting to stay single file. We all see them start to like double up here at the front. But yeah, I think it's kind of a point now where you maybe are staying out there a little bit longer, or like you're kind of just sitting and waiting, maybe saving fuel to put yourself in a spot where maybe you can take less fuel than the other guys. So it's really now kind of a waiting game as we see Elkins kind of jump back and forth between the top and the bottom.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna say Elkins jumping up. That was a very risky move by the nine machine, jumping up in front of that of Patrick Hernandez, almost wiping himself out.
but yeah, I do think it's kind of like a waiting game now. You're kind of waiting for the first people to go, and then you can kind of gauge like how many people go with them will depend on how many, how long you wait to go. So I think as soon as we see one group go, I think it really depends on that group. But as soon as we see one group go, we will start to see maybe more and more groups start to go. But it really, you do not want to be the first person to pit.
And points again here tonight, so important for these drivers that are in the playoffs. Six are in the playoffs still. That of Elliott Drummond won last week. He is already locked into our final four. Three spots are going to be taken away after tonight. Jacob Elkins leads with an 18-point advantage over Brandon Gregg. Watchhorn has 16 points over Gregg, and Patrick Hernandez has 10 points over Brandon Gregg. And Doug Tuttle is in a must-win scenario. But Matt, when you say that, when I say those numbers, you'd think each position is 1 point. Well, that is not the case here at Twigi iRacing Series. Each position is 2 points to be grabbed. So the drivers here tonight, with that of 22 drivers still out on track, there is still a chance to grab a lot of points, especially for Brandon Gregg. He is not in a terrible spot. That is only 5 positions between himself and that of Patrick Hernandez, that he's in between 8 positions different between Merrick Watchhorn, and 9 position difference between that and Jacob Elkins. So, got to say, for Brendan Gregg, who is playing a lot more conservative route for the two, he's trying to stay back until those late push at the end. He is not completely out of the playoffs just yet.
Yeah, that is the interesting point, and also very it almost kind of puts a little bit more excitement into this race, especially with how many people showed up. So it makes that if you make a small little mistake and it ends up costing you big, it could have huge points implications here for the championship.
As up front, it's going to be the six machine of Strauss and Tyler Farrar. And in this 94 of Farrar, he is in a interesting spot as well, as he finished fourth at the last Super Speedway race at Daytona. So the 94 does know how to win, does know a certain thing or two about being up front at the end of the day. But oh boy, Lewis, watch out, Buwalda Jr. He's been in out of really a risky move for himself. Instead of just staying in holding a line, he decides to almost wreck himself in front of the field.
Yeah, it was like that is one thing though with these trucks is they are a bit unstable when you really jerk the wheel. So yeah, I was a little bit amazed that he was able to hold on to it. But like I did throw up a poll to see how will anyone below the cutoff line win their way in the championship four, and all four people who voted in the polls said no, that they did not think anyone below the cutoff line was going to win the race.
I will change that up. I'll say yes. I think someone can. I think that Brendan Gregg does have an opportunity here to do a great run here. And Doug Tuttle, he's in ninth place. He can still find his way into a must-win. He's in a must-win scenario at this current moment, but he still can get this job done. And when I say he's in a must-win scenario, recalculating the numbers and the math, actually, technically, if we see Patrick Hernandez get wiped out of this race, Doug Tuttle finishes inside of the top 17. Finishes inside of our top five, and if we see that of the 19 finish outside of our top 20 to 22, he will be actually pointing his way in. So Doug Tuttle's not in a must-win scenario exactly, but it is the more preferred way to go for that 86.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, if you could get yourself into there and race that. But I think right now, I think right now the grid is essentially set because I think really the top four in the points right now have shown that they've had the pace all year. So it's going to take a miracle, almost a Cinderella story for some of these guys, with a little the cut line to get in there. But I mean that that's the thing with having Dega, yeah, as the last cutoff race for the championship four is it opens the window for anyone to do it. So you cannot count anyone out.
Absolutely not. And when you got Merrick Watchorn, who's willing to risk it by go 3 wide here and make contact without a Strauss, now he's got contact on both sides for the 91. I mean, Merrick's got to be careful. This playoffs have not been gifted to this 91 machine. He has been beaten and battered and bruised each and every round, and he's been dealing it back to a lot of these drivers. He did that last week at Richmond, where he wiped out 2 different drivers trying to get the best finish possible. He got a penalty of EDOL coming into tonight, which, if you really think about it, really was a useless penalty to give. But, this 91 certainly is not putting himself in the safest predicament, nor is that of seeing Patrick Hernandez. But there's some drivers that just cannot play the waiting game. They have to be up front challenging each and every lap.
Yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit, and sometimes you just want to be up towards the front because that's maybe your comfort zone. Whereas if you're more of like the Spino racing guys, maybe you feel more comfortable in the back, kind of watching, waiting, maybe saving some fuel to put yourself in a spot where you have a really good run, late race run, put yourself in a good momentum spot to potentially jump a few more cars.
And also for Doug Tuttle, he is in that top 10 position. He is running currently 6th place, going to be that 6th driver on the inside lane. See the 86, he is ahead of Patrick Hernandez. And for the 86, all he needs to do is be 6 positions ahead of that of Patrick Hernandez and hope that Brandon Gregg doesn't win. And Doug Tuttle will be, he needs to win this race, for this 86 machine, or be over that of 17 positions ahead of Patrick Hernandez. And both scenarios are still out there, could possibly happen. But honestly, anything can happen here tonight, especially the fact that we had 23 drivers start tonight's race. That's incredible to see, Matt, when we've been averaging around that of 11 to 10 drivers showing up for each race.
Yeah, it is nice, but it is one of those things where Dega, really the super speedway races do bring out more people because it's not so much as like you know if as like next week with Atlanta. It's one of those things where like you really have to be racing these trucks a lot to understand like how they work. Where super speedway racing, you can kind of just jump in the car and go and just kind of like feel your way around as you go, and you're not going to lose too much. But it is nice to see like how they are still gaining more people as the season goes.
The iRacing series hoping to continue to grow moving forward. As for us, the Blitz Racing Network, we are going to be giving you coverage here for the rest of the playoffs. Sadly, though, we will not be coming back for the next season, but it's been a blast giving you all the coverage here throughout all of this fantastic racing this season. As Jesse Wellington going to be leading the way for the 3. That of Joshua Strauss going to be on the outside. Let's go 3 wide as the 3 takes that outer groove. And it's going to be Wilderman hoping to get some type of surge forward. But Merrick Watchorn taking back the lead for the 91.
Yeah, it seems like that's his most preferred spot, but you don't want to give up too much on that inside because that person behind you will gladly stick their nose in there. But like this is a position that he's been in all year long, and he wants to stay there.
How do you make this positioning work for yourself? Here we go, side by side. Going to be the 3 and the 91. As a 3-horse battle on the outside, and the rest of the field all is willing to cruise on the inner groove. But you're seeing the stacking difference. The driver is a lot more compact on that outer lane, really trying to utilize that extra little bit of speed, letting the air just take off over those trucks to allow you to get some extra momentum in the 3, utilizing it to perfection, getting a nose ahead of Merrick Watchhorn, while the inside lane giving a lot more space between one another. But Matt, we're coming to 21 laps to go. And now we are inside of the window for the drivers to make it to the end, but they could try to split the stint in half and go an extra that of 4 more laps. But these drivers do still have to pit one more time to take it to the end.
Yeah, yeah. It's just unfortunate, that the double zero, if Michael just got left out to dry, as we see Jesse and kind of as we see Merrick, not happy sitting in third and willing to throw it back in there on the outside to try to move up.
Well, I guess Michael wasn't held out to dry for too long, as now he's going to get the tow, and here comes the surge, here comes the push. And hopefully Merrick Watchorn is able to hold on, and he will be able to, as going to be seeing that of Michael double zero. Of that, a Mailcock's going to be trying to make his best on the outside, and the 2-truck tandem working for perfection after a huge surge. Here they go through the tri-oval. Well, just showing the pace that they've got. And across the line, it's going to be that of the 91 leading that lap. Incredible movement there by just 2 trucks on that outer groove.
Yeah, their movement and their momentum has just shown and really pulled 3 to 4 people that were on the bottom, pulled them straight to the top because they all want to follow that 91.
Hey, if you see the speed, sometimes you just got to follow it. As kind of reversal just happened in a blink of an eye as Merrick Watchorn and that of Milcox make that outside lane work. The rest of the field, they decide, all right, well, let's try that at middle lane to the outside lane and just leave out to dry that of the 3 and the 6 machine as they'll continue to drop backwards. Also, other drivers starting to give each other a little bit more space, but side-by-side action is starting to happen a little bit more. And with this jockeying of position, kind of tell drivers trying to put themselves in a better spot with teammates, trying to move forward, be in the best positions. Once you hit pit road, you are in the best position for yourself and your team, as drivers still bouncing around. And this is when an accident can happen, when drivers are this giddy and they feel like they got big runs and they want to use it everywhere.
Yeah, but as we're seeing that bottom line, they start to form up again because Merrick, he'll hop down there. But I think now is a spot where you're kind of maybe if were the ones falling back and kind of just like riding in the back, maybe you're starting to work your way up more towards the front, trying to put yourself in a position to, maybe be in a position where maybe you pit a little bit sooner than the rest. And if you get enough people to go with you, maybe you can carry more speed than the group pack and put yourself in a spot where once your pit cycle, maybe you'll work your way up front. But also this is a time where maybe you're trying to find your teammates, to come down to pit road too.
There's a lot of different teams that are out there, and how do you want to work with one of them? As the biggest team out there currently on track is DCR Racing. That is Brendan Carroll, Jesse Wellington, as well as that of Strauss, Zach Miller, and Tyler Farrar. Those 5 drivers, biggest team that are all in the Discord together on one call. And then you got 2 other teams that have a pack of 4, but you could have alliances that maybe you built up before this race even started, or even communicating while the race has been happening. But trying to figure out, when do you want to come in? Do we want to come in together? And those 2 teams of 4 are going to be that of Watchhorn E-Motors, or it's going to be Patrick Hernandez, Maurice Gomillion, Duck Tuttle, and that of Merrick Watchhorn. Those 4 drivers, strong drivers we have around, they've all been up front, but now we're starting to get in line with one another. In the middle of the field is Doug Tuttle, Merrick Watchhorn, Patrick Hernandez. They're just waiting on what Merrick Watchhorn's going to do as he continues to lead up front. And that other team is Shaw Racing, that of Alec Duffins, John Walda Jr., as well as that of Brady Waldeman and Jacob Elkins. That's another strong group of drivers that have been up front all night long. How do you want to react as we've got 17 coming to 16 laps to go? and drivers waiting to give the indication when they're going to come into pit road. And each time they come out of turn number 4, you just wait for that fanning out motion. And one driver, two, three actually hit pit road back in the field. It's Riley Marabello, Elliott Drummond, and John Hickox all coming in. Spino, a very late entry into pit road as they hit their stops, and none of them caught speeding on entry.
Yeah, like now with this first group coming in, it's going to be interesting to see how does the rest of the group, or really how does the rest of the field do. Now, do they stay out and kind of hope that these three maybe don't get connected as well as we see Joey kind of spinning his tires, and maybe it's not as we see Marabello almost spinning as well.
Gotta be careful. Don't want to be ruining your time. But at the same momentum, you got to get up to speed as fast as possible and make sure you don't make any issues. As into pit road, gonna be a couple of drivers as well fanning out into pit road. There's gonna be 4 of them. Going to be that of Dennis Crosby as well as that
I
of
was in
Doug Betts. Oh no! And they made contact and wrecked.
and Betts just got a little bit sideways.
Spun around in front of other drivers. You hate to see that as Doug Betts still struggling to get himself in line. And that's going to be killing time momentum as that of Kyle Smith, Dennis Crosby, and Brandon Gregg involved with that. And that's going to be hurting Brandon Gregg the most. He cannot afford that issue. And they almost caused more calamity between that of Dennis Crosby and also the 55 of Kyle Smith. This group is doing a dismal job getting out of pit road. And the 22 isn't even going to be with the front runners. That means it's just going to be 2 drivers in line, and they're already going to be passed as drivers hitting pit road now. Oh no, there's just a little bit of jockeying and troubles trying to even think about hitting pit road.
Yeah, there was a little bit of an issue. It seems like Alex and the Slicks almost kind of got almost a little bit. Seems like there was a slight touch, but they were able to hold that together. But now it's really going to be, with how lined up this group, really the main pack is. It's going to be hard for Elliott, Joey Hickox, and Marabello to really keep pace with this front group because they are going to be a bit slower.
Merrick Watchorn over the radio coming into pit road this go around, and a lot of other drivers on the radio. This is going to be the big fan out of the front runners, and here we go. Pit stops underway for this lead back. Oh no, and they're spinning and wrecking drivers, making contact into pit road. It's Alec Duffins going to be making contact with himself and some other drivers further back that are trying to get into pit road. Dismal pit stops again, and that's going to be seeing drivers. That's John Bawalda Jr., I believe, that was caught up in the issues hitting pit road. Actually, I take that back. It was going to be the 00 and making contact. Oh my goodness. That is right in front of Jacob Elkins. He gets contact, and that of the 48. Under green flag conditions, 2 of our 6 playoff contenders having some type of issues, either with their group or with them themselves. As our final group hits pit road, that might be the cleanest group to hit pit road besides that of Spino. And Spino, with their non-issues, they are flying. And there they go, going to be leading the group that just came into pit road, pulling away from that of Maurice Gomillion and others. Man, I gotta say, this trio, because they had a clean entry exit at a pit road and they've been together, that is the main reason why they're ahead, but they are slowly being caught by the group behind.
Yeah, I think that they did kind of get a little bit spread out on the exit. It took them just like a lap or 2 to get hooked up together. But like once they got hooked up, they have been very quick, and obviously it's worked their way back up to the front, and we're really top 3. But it now you're kind of punching a hole for that small group behind you. But now with these green flag place, so it has spread out people. Now it makes it a little bit more manageable to make it to the end here.
2 drivers that are outside looking in, now going to have to work with one another to try to catch up to this lead group. Doug Tuttle, as well as Brennan Gregg, going to be 10th and 11th position as well. They're going to be with Patrick Hernandez. So technically, if they give a bad bump to the 19, he gets put in the wall, goes backwards. I mean, that's a position to be grabbed, and that of Brennan Gregg would be in a position to try to steal his way into playoff, into that of the Final Four. But up front, it's side by side, different teammates, different groups. You got about that of 3 different groups trying to work with one another up front. But it's Maurice Gomillion going to be leading the way with that of Merrick Watchorn. But the 44 can't decide if he wants to stay high or go low. And he is really bobbling back and forth in front of that 91 machine, giving me quite a little bit of a scare as they've got to reset, move forward. And this is just helping that second group behind. Here comes that of Patrick Hernandez and others. They've caught up. Here we go. Let's make this group a little bit bigger now. 11 drivers in this lead pack now.
Yeah, it almost seems like Gomillion kind of got maybe a little bit of tap from Merrick, in the middle of the corner, which kind of like upset his car, but thankfully he was able to hold on to it as we saw going through 3 and 4. Joey Hickox kind of jumped up in front of the top group. We haven't seen very many people go from that bottom line to go up and jump up in front of that top group, so it was a risky call, but obviously it's keeping him up front.
Joey Hickok trying to be the hero here tonight to try to steal away an automatic win. And Matt, 10 laps to go, going to be 9 when they cross the line. Big thing for these drivers is if we get to the white flag, there will be no yellow flag after that. Once you get that white flag, it is all about who crosses the line next. We'll take the checkered flag, which means we could see some big wrecks, massive collisions, and where the drivers lie now most likely won't be where they're at by the time they come out of turn number 4.
Absolutely not. Just like you said, Joey, trying to be the hero. It may not be the hero we want, but it's definitely the hero that we need.
He is putting on the drama. He's putting on the flair. And right now, seeing that American Watchhorn and that team stuck just watching Marabello and Joey Hickok leading both the top and the inside lane. Nowhere to really go for themselves. And they are also going to be seeing that of Elliott Drummond, second car on the inside. He has been playing Mr. Patient in the back. He might have been giving it well, and he's been sitting in the back with that little bit of a starting run. Decided to keep that truck clean, and now on the push. And for Merrick Watchorn, big kudos to that 91 machine, but he has gotten a lot of damage before himself. And now a lot of bottling going on for the 44. Madam Maurice Gomillion. Don't want to go down too much further, or he's going to wipe out that inside lane.
Yeah, we're like right now with really kind of Hickox is kind of just waiting and not really waiting, but he's kind of really just been controlling the race. Obviously, he was on the bottom, jumped out in front of Gomillion, and now he's just kind of just chilling there waiting. Because that seems like if you are in the in the lead, that's definitely where you want to be. You don't want to be in the lead on the bottom because they're just going to keep going around you on the outside.
And Matt, I think if anything, this is kind of a ticking bomb on when they're going to take off for that of the 73. Because yes, he's leading this middle lane, but when are they going to go 3 wide? And it looks like they're not. Oh, no, Gomillion goes too low. He's going to wiggle. He's going to be loose. They're going to go 3 wide to give him space on the inside as Barbello has to go into the sucker hole, trying to sneak by the 44. He'll finally be clear with a little bit of a jostling. Merrick Watchorn, here comes the 51, and others on the outside. Coming to 7 laps to go. They're blocking, defending, and it's going to be stuck in the middle is the 55 of Kyle Smith. Smith, no friends, no allies, but he certainly is making some enemies with some of these moves.
Yeah, with him, when Doug Bates earlier on in the race that caused the big one when he when people in front of him checked up. So he's worked his way back up here to the front. But yeah, that was a very risky and a great job to everyone for being aware of what's going on and taking action.
Getting themselves out of the way as soon as possible, but a driver backed off expecting the big one to happen. Brandon Gregg has lost touch to the lead pack. He is going to be losing ground, and his opportunities to possibly point his way to the next round, he's going to need a big one to strike, and he's going to need Patrick Hernandez to be involved with it as we are coming to 6 laps to go. Can we stay green? And there are plenty of other drivers still out on track. There are clusters of groups of drivers throughout this field, and just as well as our lead pack of drivers are side by side, These drivers that are, two truck tangoing, drivers in a pack, they easily could bring out the yellow as well if they've got a bad bump to one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it definitely seems, even with all that happening, Joey Hickox was able to find his way back out here to the front. But I think if you don't want to be in first place coming to the white flag, you kind of want to be. Hey, oh, do you?
Oh, watch horn just put in the nose. Joey Hickox goes a little bit too high, gives the opening, and here comes watch horn on the inside.
That was like a bully move. It's like, excuse me, sir, you open up the door, I'm gonna kick it in. So just move out of the way. But a great job by both of them to be aware of, and really of Joey, understanding if I cut him off, it's not only ending my race, but it's also ending his race, and kind of throwing away everything that this front group has built so far.
This 55 machine of Kyle Smith, third car in line on the outside. He has been bobbling to the outer groove, almost like he's trying to show the signs that he's willing to go 3 wide if needed. But the drivers in the back half of this pack, obviously all thinking about it. You see the green banners, splitters, and spoilers. Those are all your playoff drivers in this front group. Points so important here this evening on how you're going to be running. And practically all of our 6 contenders are up front, except for the 2 who has lost touch. And he is actually been able to catch up with this group. You got help from Patrick Hernandez and others. Brandon Greg's got back up. This 2 is not out of this playoffs just yet.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a double-edged sword. You kind of help this person
Oh,
like to get back up, but it may come back to bite you later on. But right now, it's very tight in the front as we start to get a little bit more racy as we start to go 3 wide here in the front group.
they're going to be going 3 wide, trying to find your place and your spot. If you got an opening, you got to take it, as it's going to be seeing drivers. Riley Marbello really trying to put the pinch on, and that easily could cause a wreck if drivers are not too careful, especially when you got that of Mauricio Million, who's been bobbling up and down, just struggling to hold a line through the corners. Don't want to be pinching too hard on that driver, as through that of the tri-oval. Let's give it the 3 to go marker, and let's go 3 wide for that a second place, as Merrick Watchhorn forces that around Marbello. And now we're going to be going 3 wide, 2 rows deep, as here we go, Matt. It's Joey Hickox leading the way on the inside. Merrick Watchhorn in the middle. In the third lane, it's the 52 of Riley Marbello. And Marbello, Watchhorn, they've had collisions. They've had contacts. Joey Hickox willing to almost make contact with the 91 now.
Yeah, like one thing to watch on the outside is Marabello and Drummond are both teammates, so it's gonna be interesting how those Spinal teammates work together, as well as Joey Hickox is also in Spinal. So you're looking at the 3 Spinal trucks really trying to control this race.
They're trying their best to lead every little aspect that they can, but if there are a couple of drivers in this pack that I could see bringing out the caution, the 55 of Kyle Smith, the 44 Mauricio Million, those are my 2 drivers of I don't know how they're going to run this last stint of the race. 2 laps to go. Spino trying their best to be spoilers here tonight. Merrick Watchhorn trying to make it into the championship hopefuls. So much is on the line, and we're 3 wide, 2 rows deep, making almost 3 rows deep, as it is go time here, as we've got a lap and a half to go unless we get that yellow.
Yeah, like you've had the whole race to understand how well can you car or truck handle the push.
Oh,
Oh,
contact, and it's once again Merrick Watchhorn spinning out. They're going to be staying green for now. No, the yellow flag comes out, and it's Riley Marabello, Merrick Watchhorn. They cannot get away from one another, and we're going to overtime. Ooh. Well, Matt, over the radio, one of the drivers I talked about, to watch out for, was the one that kind of was the catalyst around this thing. Got to watch out for the 55 of Kyle Smith. He's about to give a massive push to that of Merrick Watchhorn. And this is where drivers kind of got pushed out of the way. In the 55, no give, all take, gives the bump, gets Merrick loose, and you just see the opening go up. And I mean, at that point, we're coming to the white flag. I get that you want to use your momentum, but that is some aggressive racing at the end, especially when you're a non-playoff driver shoving on playoff drivers in front of you.
Yeah, it's just so fortunate, to again, it's one of those things where maybe guys are being a little bit too aggressive, knowing that they have nothing to lose, but also it kind of puts other people in a bad spot. But
I mean, at the same time, I think it's also just a lack of awareness in some fashions. I mean, I get it that some drivers are going for the win, but you need to be on that white flag if you're going to be trying those type of hero moves as into pit road. This allows a lot of drivers gets their damage repair. A lot of the drivers have fast repairs to work with, and this saves that American Watchhorn. He'll be able to use that fast repair that he's been having in his back pocket this whole entire time, and this now puts Joey Hickox, Elliott Drummond, gonna be drivers up front, but I'm curious on how many drivers really should be thinking about hitting pit road. But this is gonna be our first overtime attempt. We have 3 if needed. The way overtime works is we have 2 laps to go. Once we go green, if we get that one to go white flag up in the air, we will race it to the end. But if we do not get the one to go marker and a yellow flag comes out on the first lap that we are green, we will then go into attempt number 2. If that same situation happens again, yellow flag comes out while we're on that first lap, we did not get the white flag indication. We will then go into attempt number 3. And then if we get to attempt number 3, I'll tell you what the new rules are because, again, we only get 3 attempts if needed. This is going to be our first attempt at overtime. And Matt, overtime playoff implications, technically, if looking at where drivers are running right now, where they're running in this current moment, the 4 drivers that made it into the playoffs would stay on where they are in the playoffs. So, still, for that of Doug Tuttle, he needs to find himself in victory lane because that of the 19 is only back to 5th place. Not enough positions to be grabbed to bump him into the next round. Same for Brandon Gregg. He's too far back around drivers that he would not be able to advance. So, drivers got to be thinking about points. How do you move forward? For that of Brandon Gregg, he needs to be 6 positions ahead of Patrick Hernandez, or be 8 I mean, that of going to be 7 positions. Excuse me. He needs to be 9 positions ahead of that of Merrick Watchhorn, or 10 positions ahead of Jacob Elkins. While Doug Tuttle, he needs to be either that of 17 positions ahead of Patrick Hernandez, or win this race. That's the only scenarios for Doug Tuttle to make it into the next round. Brendan Gregg in a little bit of a more wiggle room, but Patrick Hernandez has been running well. That of Jacob Elkins is also up front. It's that American Watchhorn who's been struggling here tonight. And Matt, that was kind of something we were talking about before we even went live here for this broadcast. American Watchhorn is not in the all clear. He came in tonight 3rd in points. He cannot afford a bad run here tonight, or he could be bumped out of the playoffs.
yeah, but I mean, it has been his aggressive nature that has put himself in the spot to get so many wins throughout the season. So I don't expect him to change, just because he's in a point situation. I think if you are Merrick, you kind of want to stay with what you know and like what you're good at. So I think I fully expect him to be just as aggressive as he's been all season.
Well, we are stacking up and getting ready to go here this evening. It's going to be that of Brady Wilderman, going to be in that 51 machine. Joey Hickok in the 73. Doug Tuttle, as well as Elliott Drummond. Going to be Jacob Elkins, Patrick Hernandez, Joshua Strauss, as well as Jesse Will Whittington, as well as going to be seeing that of the 27 of Chris, the 94 of Tyler, as well as many others ready to get ready for this restart. This is overtime attempt number 1 of 3 if needed. But if we get the white flag, this race will become official and it will be go time. The pressure is on. We came in tonight with 6 drivers inside of the playoffs. Only 4 will make it out tonight and will be racing next week at that of Old Atlanta, for the championship, where it will be a sudden death race where it's all about who finishes ahead of the other 4 competitors. Here tonight, though, we have that of Elliott Drummond, Jacob Elkins, Merrick Watchhorn, Patrick Hernandez, Brendan Gregg, Doug Tuttle, where those 6 drivers Elliott Drummond, after his win last week, locked himself in the next round. 3 spots are open. Who is taking them away? Matt, first attempt at overtime. Who are you thinking? Do you think this is going to be our last restart? Or do you got a feeling that we might have to use another one?
I think this. I think there will be like one more. I think it's going to be tight for those final guys if there's one more, just where they pitted, comparatively. But I fully expect there to be at least one more. It's going to be really tight, with especially with everyone like trying to get towards.
Talking about the Spino guys, Elliott Drummond has a lot of damage on both his left and right side of that 29 machine. He'll be starting on the outside, second truck on that outer groove. He's got a lot of work if he wants to find himself in victory lane, as tonight we are green for our first attempt at overtime, and the 51s are going to be taking off for himself. Here comes Joey Hickox, though, on the inside. Doug Turtle also going to be the driver to watch out for. They're already going to be ducking and diving, trying to block one another. They're 3 wide further back in the field. It's go time, overtime. Here we go.
Oh, we see the 86 almost lose it on the exit, but that kind of lost the momentum for Joey, and now it allows the 51 to go on the outside.
Well, they tried to go 3-1 on the outer groove. Tuttle's gone. He's sent to the inside. Goodbye. No more platforms. He's back on track. Oh, my God. We're going overtime. Attempt number 2. Oh, goodness gracious.
Had nowhere to go.
Oh, no. Doug, that is certainly a way to reset things. And if anything, that allows Brennan Gregg for another shot. Oh, my goodness. Well, this is so bizarre. As
Hernandez kind of got into the back of him a little bit sideways. It kind of just threw him back up in the track, but
oh man, that is difficult. Well, I mean, if you're Doug, you kind of did exactly what you needed to do if you wanted to stay in this race, and that's come back into the race and racetrack surfaces. See the surge, it's coming up. Contact just stays on the bumper, and pushing the pusher, not always a good thing to see. And Doug Tuttle did exactly what he needed to do to stay in this race, and that's come back up onto the track, cause an incident. Luckily, he still has himself a fast repair to work with. And also didn't blow up his engine. So the 86 still in this race to work with. Oh, just launch takeoff.
yeah. But now with this, with this second, going another attempt, and you see some of the guys riding below the apron, maybe trying to save you a little bit of fuel. Maybe they're right on the cuffs and making it, but it puts people. Maybe you're the first rounders, in the pit cycle, are now kind of feeling the effect of getting too early.
Yeah, that's going to be Joey Hickox and that of Elliott Drummond. They are in that tricky spot for themselves, see if they can take it to the end. I was being quiet because I was listening over the radio, drivers blaming one another for the incidents that were happening on track. It looked like Merrick Watchhorn kind of putting the blame on the 6 machine, saying that he made contact with that of the 19 of Patrick Hernandez in that incident. And rewatching it, was not the case. But I'm not surprised by that call. Merrick Watchhorn, pretty known for not wanting his team to take accountability for incidences until after the fact, and they're called for it. So here we go for these drivers. Ooh, I was curious to see if anyone else is going to be get kicked out of this session, but we continue to see these drivers race this one out, and here they go. Spino on to that of the apron, trying to save that fuel.
I mean, like we saw it earlier, that Elkins was involved in a wreck, and he's now back up here, in the top six. So, like, good job by him by trying, putting himself in a position, much like he has, the whole season is being there, at the end of the race.
And for Elliot Drummond and Joey Hickox, I mean, both of them, they can be as aggressive as they want right now. The Elliot Drummond already knows he's locked into the next round with his win from Richmond last week. Joey Hickox trying to be a hero here and try to steal a win away from allowing any other drivers to automatically lock in and kind of have to point their way into the next round. And I mean, right now, this is looking great for themselves, but this fuel situation, Matt, I think that's the one thing that's so interesting because we have to go into a third attempt. Joey Hickok and Elliot Drummond are going to have to be forced to hit pit road.
Hmm. It really puts it close, but maybe they've done, some saving, or maybe they have different numbers than what we have. So it's going to be very close and very interesting to see. Especially like those people, that just came in and just topped off. They have more fuel, so they're going to have their rear ends a bit lower than everyone else. So they might have, a bit more speed and be able to work their way through the field a lot better than some others.
As again, a driver that is up front has gotten a lot of enemies throughout the season. That American Watchhorn, Matt, this 91, we are in overtime attempt number 2. Again, if we get a yellow flag on this first lap, we will go into overtime attempt number 3, and that will be our final attempt. But if we don't get that yellow flag, when we hit the white flag, this race will become official. We'll race it to the end. Merrick Watchhorn does not have a fast repair left. So if he gets caught up in a wreck and we have a third attempt, his hopes and dreams of moving on to the next round and battling for a championship, he's been our most dominant driver all season long. He is in a tricky spot if he gets caught up in a wreck.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation you don't want to find yourself in. But I mean, if you look at, really the whole year, he's been in a position to be aggressive. So I don't expect him to change, especially, this late in the season. I don't see a reason why to change your ways, but it, it's how he's been all season. So I think, this is what he's comfortable with.
Well, the driver is getting set and ready to go here tonight. And it is going to be a crazy one to see how the drivers can make it to the end of this race. Pace car goes off. This is our second attempt at overtime. If we get a caution on this first lap before we get the white flag, we will go into overtime attempt number 3. The drivers, some maybe hoping for a third attempt, others hoping that this is it. Well, this is our last opportunity to make it from this round to the final 4. We got 6 drivers entering. Only 4 get to battle for the championship next week, and here we go. Overtime attempt number 2 is green. To go into turn number 1, it's going to be that of Joey Hickok. It's going to be on that inside lane. He's got a Spino teammate of Elliot Drummond on his inside, but the big question for both those drivers, fuel. Same thing for that of Patrick Hernandez. If we get another yellow flag, that 19's in a tricky spot as well, as he's getting a massive push by the 6 of that of Strauss. And here comes that third lane once again. Blocking's going to be happening, but it's going to be that of Joey Hickox and as well as Elliot Drummond holding strong on the inside. Here we go. Matt coming out of turn number 4.
Oh,
The
no!
wrecking. There goes Strauss. He's flipping carnage, and the yellow flag comes out. We're going into overtime attempt number 3. Joey Hickok had the lead at the time of the yellow. He'll be in control. But who was involved with the wreck? The 2, Brendan Gregg. He had already used his fast repair. He's involved with the wreck. And scaving free, like he always does, Matt, Merrick Watchhorn just missing out on that incident. But aggressive driving from some of these newcomers that put playoff drivers in a precarious spot.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, it is the last. It seems like he just got in a tricky spot, but yeah, just really unfortunate.
And just a lot of pushing and shoving and one bad tap and the way you go. I mean, these front ends, we've talked about it all throughout the night. You're not lined up properly. You are going to be either finding yourself spinning out or the drivers around you. And that's exactly what we saw here is Alec Duffins, that 48 white machine, trying to give a bump. Same for the three. They're going three wide. Here comes that 48 and three machine. They're closing in on Strauss, and you're going to be, believe, getting a bad checkup bump. There they go. Type of incident, and Elkins and Watchhorn both getting some incredible assistance to survive through that. As Alec Duffins might be calling it a night as we take a look here from Doug Tuttle's point of view. 86, very close to this incident. I don't know if he got front end damage or not. And he's hoping as this just kind of collapsed right in front of him. Smokes, flare, go low, go low, go low, and two, Brendan Gregg just flying by. Well, with the amount of drivers that are now out of this race, Matt, this now puts that of Doug Tuttle in a must-win scenario with where all the drivers are at. There's just not enough positions to try to get by Patrick Hernandez if Hernandez falls out. But Elliott Drummond continues to stay out on track. Joey Hickok has hit pit road for the 73 as we continue to look at these replays. 73 hits pit road. Everyone from 10th on back, topping off on fuel. Drivers that are on extended fuel is Elliott Drummond, Patrick Hernandez, Jacob Elkins. But the way that some of these drivers are pacing, I think they feel like they're good on fuel for that of Hernandez and Elkins. It's Elliott Drummond that I'm the most concerned about. But hey, he's got already his win. He can go out there and risk it all.
Yeah, I think if you're him, you're kind of hoping for maybe like a quick caution, to end the race. But yeah, but looking at at the replays, it almost looked like maybe the six checked up more than what the one was anticipating and just ran it straight into the back of him.
Yeah, just I mean, that's aggressive racing right there of and also exit of the corners. Been seeing some drivers get a little bit hairy whenever they get too aggressive. As pace car lights are still on, we're still waiting for the one to go indicator. And here is the scenario coming into this for these drivers as we're getting set up and ready to get rolling for ourselves. As we are getting ourselves situated, this certainly is going to be an interesting race overall for these drivers. The two is going to be that of Brendan Gregg. Damaged, but beaten and battered and bruised. He's in ninth place. He needs to make sure that he has got enough points between himself and that of at least 6 positions ahead of himself and Patrick Hernandez, or have 9 positions up on himself and Merrick Watchhorn, or 10 positions over that of Elliott Drummond. For Doug Tuttle, he needs to win to get into the playoffs. For that of Merrick Watchhorn, Jacob Elkins, and also Patrick Hernandez, they just need to stay up front, exactly what they've been doing. And Matt, with the pace car lights off, I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to do just that, be up front, keep themselves out of trouble. It's everyone else behind them that they're kind of concerned about the wild cards and what they're going to do.
Yeah, but like the one thing I noticed is that Drummond went to the top lane, which broke up the duo of Merrick and Hernandez. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for him at breaking up the two teams.
As drivers get stacked up and ready to go. Matt, I mean, for those that are further back in the field, is there anyone? I know we've been seeing a lot of drivers trying to poke their nose in different areas. Are there any drivers that you're thinking that could come up here and kind of change the dynamic of our front five?
I do think Joey Hickox has shown that he has speed, and especially with him coming down pit road and maybe topping off and getting more fuel, that would make him a bit more quicker. But also, I think if it's hard to say. I think if maybe DCR guys can maybe partner up and get up there because they're all like in a row back there too. It, it's really tough to say. I think the seas have to part at the right time for the guys in the back to really get up there in the front, especially with how little time there is. You really have to get a lot of really good run to come off the high side, but it's really just going to depend on how this the seas up front part.
Well, here we go. This is our third and final attempt of this race. If we get a yellow before the white flag, this race is official and it is done. This race is over under yellow. But if we get the white flag, the gloves are off. It's all about crossing the line first. So here we go, the final restart of the round of 6. Who's racing for a championship next week? It's time to find out here on the Blitz Racing Network. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Matt Dyer, let's give you the best call we can as we're green for the final time tonight here at the Alabama 150. Barney's waving that flag and already going to be seeing the teammates trying to get in line, but they're going to be split up. It's Elliott Drummond trying to get in line. He's going to have Jacob Elkins in line with them. Here comes Hernandez. Here comes Watchorn on the outside. They're going to be having the 3 behind them. And here we go, Matt, out of the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, the teammates got hooked up right away. Now they are in control of that top line. Definitely want to stay in control of the top line to be the best person to defend, to carry the best momentum. As you see it, 3 wide, Drummond to the inside and crashes the inside.
He's going to be out of this thing, and he's going to stay low, but we still have to continue to race on. Up front, Patrick Hernandez, that Americ Watchorn going to be your front runners as they're coming at turn number 4. We stay green. Elliott Drummond no longer going to be a factor, but here comes Dennis Crosby. He's going to be trying to get the push on the outside lane, and what a driver to have behind him. It's Joey Hickox out of nowhere for the 73. He was all the way mired back in 12th. Well, he's going to be now side by side for the front row. Here we go. We are now in the gloves are off factor. White flag is out. Anything can happen. Anything can go. Let's go 3 wide. Down the middle is Joey Hickok. He wants to get this win right now as he's got to get by the teammates. Patrick Hernandez, Merrick Watchorn, they're going to be wrecking behind this 73. He's got no friends, no assistance. And here comes Jacob Elkins. Going to be fun to give him the bump to that 73. He'll duck it low, or will he stay in line? Patrick Hernandez going to be getting the push. The driver that has been looking for a win, searching for one. He's going to be just having a front stretch to go. Out of turn number 4, the teammates stay in line. Who's going to be giving the help? So here comes Joey Hickox. Not enough room. It's going to be side by side for 3rd. It's the teammates up front. Patrick Hernandez finally wins the momentum swing to the 19 here at Talladega.
What an absolute final lap, and what an absolute great way to send yourself in the championship for Patrick Hernandez.
Hernandez all season long. He has had the most starts. He's had some of the best finishes. He was known as Mr. Consistent. He got a second breath of life with that of John Lynch ducking out of the playoffs. And Matt, that second life, this 19 has not thrown away. He is racing for a championship next week.
Yeah, like you really gotta you give a hats off to Merrick. He could have easily jumped out of line and he went for the win, but he stuck it and really just kept behind his teammate to put his teammate in the best spot possible, not put any risk and potentially giving up a final 4 spot. But yeah, what a great drive by everyone.
Now we have to look at where all the drivers finished for themselves, and based on where they finished, Matt, they are all 4 that came in tonight for our final 4 all will stay as our final 4. Jacob Elkins, he finishes 5th. Merrick Watchorn finishes 2nd. Patrick Hernandez finishes 1st. Brendan Gregg nowhere to be found, nor is that of Doug Tuttle. And that means our final 4 going into next week is going to be the same drivers. It's Elliott Drummond, Jacob Elkins, Merrick Watchorn, and that driver that just won here tonight, Patrick Hernandez, as he gets to burn it down with his teammate. And what a fun night they're going to be having for themselves, Matt. I mean, kudos for the teamwork that you talked about, getting in line, finding your teammate as early as you can. They did that, and no one could even touch them.
Yeah, absolutely. The power of teams. But you almost felt bad. But I think if Elkins and Hickox could have stayed together on that outside lane, maybe could have gotten one more person. They maybe would have challenged. But I think the greediness of trying to be the first one on that outside line got to him.
It certainly did. Started 17th. That was the lowest that he was all night. Patrick Hernandez finds himself in a victory lane after he got collected with his teammate. They were up front. They showed they had the strongest strength. And what a win for this driver. As we're going to take a look at our unofficial results, it's going to be Patrick Hernandez getting the win. Merrick Watchorn going to get second. Jesse Whittington's going to be getting that a third, which we will talk to our top three here in just a few moments. 27 to Chris going to be getting fourth. Jacob Elkins gets fifth. Joey Hickok's going to be finishing out our top six. And seventh, it's going to be that of Alec Duffins. Zach Miller is going to be finishing out our eighth place driver. Ninth goes that of Joshua Strauss. That of Josiah Strauss, and going to be also Tyler Farrar finishing out your top 10 as the rest of your unofficial results will just cycle on through. What a wild night for themselves. You see here in 14th, 16th, the two drivers outside looking in, not the finishes that they wanted. Elliot Drummond, that massive wreck at the end, he'll finish in 18th place. And the last little swab of drivers, we had 23 that officially started here tonight, as 24th and 25th place did not even start. Wow, Matt. Well, that is the end of the round of 6. We got one more race left this season. That's going back to hot Atlanta. That is going to be certainly a fun race to watch. It's a shorter race than all the other mile half tracks that we've had so far. So we'll see how that is going to be attributing to these drivers' runs. But tonight, that 19 is going to have some fun. Cannot get off track. And Matt was crazy. He was the driver that we were concerned on fuel. Well, he doesn't have to concern anymore as he finds himself going to the next round.
Yeah, you definitely want to put your first win at the right spot to carry that momentum into the championship round, and I fully expect him to be up towards the front at Atlanta next
As drivers get themselves situated, we're going to step aside real quick. Actually, we're going to check and see if the drivers are in the waiting room, and that they are. So we're actually going to start things off with adding the third place finisher. It's the number 3 machine of Jesse Whittington, who found himself getting a fantastic run at the end of the day. The 3 certainly was everywhere on track. Almost got there at the end, but a third place good enough for themselves. Jesse, it's Sam up in the booth. Congratulations on that of third place this evening. Man, how are you feeling after that debut race for yourself?
Man, wish I could have gotten 2 positions more, but I'm not gonna sit here and complain about that. That was a lot of fun racing out here with these guys tonight.
Certainly tonight, anyone had an opportunity to win. Was that the mentality for yourself here tonight? Even though you know there were a ton of playoff drivers that were up front, was there thoughts in your mind of I'm going to try anything to get to victory lane, even if that has to move one of you?
To an extent, yes. Yes and no. My mindset was just trying to race clean. Being a new guy in a league, I don't want to come in and cause any issues. Want to race clean, show them I know how to race, and try to do everything I can. So at the end, I don't know who the teams are, so I saw the 19 and the 91 working together a lot tonight, and I was like, let me get in line behind them, and then I felt like I was in a good position until I got a huge side draft just about the entire way down the backstretch, and I was like, I'm just going to stay in line with them and try to get a podium out of this. So it all worked out. I wish I could have gotten 2 more spots, but it is what it is, and we'll see how this goes from here on out.
Well, coming up next is going to be the championship race at Atlanta. How are you feeling about that race, or are you even going to show up?
That's kind of up in the air. It all depends on my work schedule for next week. But if I do show up, I'm just gonna give it everything I got and uh, try to finish out the year on a high note. It's only 2 races, but why not?
That's true. But hey, we're happy to have you here and adding to the field. Thank you for joining us up at the booth, and congratulations on the third place finish. Before we let you go, though, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
I just want to take some time for my sponsors. I don't have any on my truck because I just got the Ford before I hopped on here, but Mohawk Foundation, BRTV, Daniel Maintenance, K9 Rouge Rescue. I just talked with some guys at Good Golf. I'll be running some of their schemes here soon, and man, it hopefully can land some more, but about all I got for now. Of course, DCR race team, and what Merrick, the guy that puts on this league. Thank you for letting me join on such short notice, and thanks to you guys for putting this on for us tonight. Can't wait to go back and watch.
Well, thank you for putting on a great show this evening. Congratulations on third place, and hopefully we get to see you next week on the Atlanta.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good night.
You too. That's going to be our third place finisher, the 3 of Jesse. Congratulations on that as we head to second place, where we find that Merrick Watchorn to get his thoughts on how tonight went. Merrick, what a run that you had here tonight. You were up top leading this race at some points. You fell all the way back deeper in the field. I mean, it was a roller coaster from our point of view watching it. How was it for yourself here tonight?
Roller coaster emotions, roller coaster of just getting up to this point. You know, just, yeah, no, you said it best. It's just a roller coaster.
Well, Merrick, you officially have now moved on to the Final Four. We were curious on how that was going to go because there were a lot of moments where we weren't sure how the points were going to look with some of the aggression we were seeing. Were you surprised by how aggressive we were seeing some of the drivers here tonight?
The setup was just trimmed out and it was super fast. You can literally get on someone's bumper and just push them and they will never get loose. Like they can't feel it. Like there's a couple times I was getting bump draft with my teammates and they're like, "Are you feeling that?" I'm like, "No." Like just keep pushing until we wreck out, I guess. And it worked out for my teammate. He finally got his first win. I'm so happy for him. I'm happy as a team owner. I'm happy as like as one of his like good friends. I'm so happy for him. He's been like the most the consecutive driver of all time, and I think he got into the playoffs with this win. So I'm so proud of my teammate and him finally getting a win this season.
Yeah, with the win, he automatically gets that lock in, and he was even good on points on where he was at. Merrick, we got one more race to go. You've been the dominator for most of the season. You have the most wins coming into the playoffs and out of the playoffs. How are you feeling confidence-wise heading into next week at Atlanta?
It's gonna come down to just keep my head down, you know, focusing on practice, making sure the setup is perfect for everyone, and making sure the race is going to be fun and exciting. The best thing I can do is just not beat myself up, go in there knowing that I got 3 other drivers I'm taking on, and I got other people going out of their way to challenge me and trying to beat me, as well as, you know, show what muscles they have and flex them and try to take me on. So hopefully next week you'll be crowning me as the 2-time Twigi iRacing Series champion. Hopefully. Anything can happen. It's Atlanta. It's part of racing. I can mess up on fuel. I can mess up on tires. It just comes down to, you know, staying out of trouble and keeping my head out. Keep a squeaky clean race and having fun with my guys. You know, this has been a great season so far. I want to thank you guys. I know you guys aren't going to be returning to us next year. So, shout out to y'all for staying with us all season long. You guys are the best broadcast team I've ever had to deal with, and a pleasure working with y'all. It's been a great time, but let's just go in and have some fun in this final race.
Well, you guys have put on a show that makes it fun for us up in the booth. Merrick, before we let you go, if you have any more thanks and thoughts, the floor is yours to give out.
I just want to thank all my admins, the league in here. I mean, this is the first time I think we had 24, 23 drivers sign up for a race. So, you know, we're definitely heading back up into the positive, which I appreciate kindly, you know. So I want to thank, everyone who helps me build the setups. You know, I'm not the one who built it. Yes, I'm the sole proprietor of building them from scratch, but everyone's input coming into the practices week in and week out all season long, helping me build them, make them fast and fun for all of us to, throw down. I can't thank enough for all the guys. I just want to thank the Watcher Innovations Group Incorporated. I want to thank Capture the Occasion, the Quantum Security Alliance. I want to thank Futuristic Studios. My buddy got back on with me, so we're going to go there, and hopefully we can put our heads down, like I said, and go for a championship next week.
And we cannot wait to see how next week goes. Congratulations on a second place finish here, Merrick, and good luck going for that second championship.
Thanks, guys. As
we go for second place, we go to the driver that's excited and happy, and we can't wait to talk to him. We got the 19 machine with us. It is Patrick Hernandez. Patrick, a full season of woes, struggles. You got a second berth in the playoffs with John Lynch having to leave. You're back in. I mean, it's been a roller coaster of emotions in just the playoffs, but man, how does it feel knowing that you finally got that first win of the season?
Wow, man, it's unreal. As you will say, man, that's been a season of highs and lows, from being consistent on the regular season, then lost my edge, my speed on the playoff. That unfortunately made me lose my spot on the second round. Then I got a second chance, of getting in, and now, man, finally, after a lot of tries, after a lot of heartbreaks, because I've been near to get the win before, but always something happened that I don't know. But finally, I managed to put everything together with some luck on my side, because here in Talladega it's 99% luck and 1% skill. So yeah, man, I'm so fucking happy. It's like, it's freaking surreal.
I mean, Patrick, certainly this has been a crazy night. We've been watching drivers bouncing from being up front to the tail end of the field, being caught up in wrecks. I mean, you yourself did not have to use your fast repair. You're one of a handful of drivers that didn't have to use your fast repair. I mean, how was it trying to work through this field? And it always seemed like once you found Merrick, you guys got up to the front immediately.
Oh yeah, man. It was complicated, because at sometimes, I was pinched to the yellow line. I would have to put like half car below the yellow line to stay away from trouble, and trying to predict of what might happen, because a lot of times I was like having a chart to the front, and then I saw a couple sketchy thing in front of me, and I said, no, I'm gonna slow down. I'm gonna back it up, because I don't trust what I'm seeing in front. But yeah, I try a lot of times to try to get to Merrick, but it's drafting. People are coming high, coming low. It's really hard to get to your teammate. And yeah, man, it was a wild night. Like, I dodged a couple incidents in front of me, and I don't know, of 9 lives, I think I have 4 left after this race.
Absolutely. And Patrick, I know that you kind of want to celebrate this, soak this one in, but the championship race next week, it's coming very quickly. How are you feeling about heading to Atlanta? We're going to the old circuit, hot, slick Atlanta. Got to be worrying about those tires. How are you feeling mentally going into that race?
The old Atlanta is a track that I know really well, and sliding and scrambling for grip, I thrive in those conditions. That's the style I like to race, having to handle the truck myself. I'm going with the same mentality as tonight. All I can do is buckle up, drive, and pray that all the pieces fall together, or fall in place in my favor, and I have to go with a clear mind, because if I start thinking in a bunch of stuff that can't happen, a bunch of stuff that I can't do, then I'm not gonna be able to be on focus mode. So again, I'm gonna have to buckle up and do what I do best.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Patrick, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
I want to say thank you to all my guys at Watch Your E Motorsports, all the guys in the shop, Merrick, Maurice, Doug, all the guys that have helped me throughout the season to improve my craft, to get to where I am today, especially in the playoff. I had to work a little bit extra the entire playoff with the guys to try to get my groove back in, and it paid off. So I want to say thank you to all my team. I want to say thank you to my sponsors, Raybrick, MSI, all the guys that make possible that this truck is on the track every Friday. I want to give you guys a shout out. Like Merrick said before, I know you guys won't be with us next season, and I feel sad about it, because it's a great broadcast team. So we're gonna miss you guys.
Well, I just want to say thank you for giving us a great show to cover here, Patrick, and we're proud to give you that call of getting your win here tonight. It was a fun one to watch. We are so happy that you finally got this win. We can't wait to see how you perform next week for the championship race. Congratulations again on your win, and good luck next week.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that is your first time winner of the season, Patrick Hernandez, getting it done for himself. Matt, I mean, it took him all season to finally get that win. What a time to get that momentum builder.
Absolutely. You definitely want that momentum because it kind of puts you in the right mindset of looking to win. Because I definitely think, heading into that championship race, I think if you're in that championship for in order to win the championship, I think you will have to win. With how good Drummond and Merrick have been, you almost have to win to beat them. So I fully expect, those top four are always up towards the front. So it's going to be interesting and fun to watch how those two, or really how those four, fight it out.
Can't wait to see it. It is going to be, again, the same four drivers that came in tonight instead of our top four. They will be the same four battling for that championship. That Merrick Watchorn, the Mr. Dominator, he's gotten the most wins coming in and out of this season. Will he be able to crown another win, or will he just be able to beat? Because that's the thing. It's not based off of points going into next week. It's based off of your finish and where you line up with the other three contenders that you're battling with. And it's always a different mentality that you got to have to go in, but most likely you're going to have to win at Old Atlanta next week. Well, Matt, it's been a pleasure all season getting to call these drivers and see how the playoffs have gone through. But before we get into next week, your final thoughts on tonight and heading into next week.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch this one. You sometimes these super speedway races are kind of boring. Like people just sitting in a straight line. You're not wanting to do any passes, but like kudos to everyone who was here tonight. They did not want to sit back. They did not want to take it easy. They were really aggressive all night, and it was really fun to watch them work their way and carve their way through the field tonight.
We saw lots of different potential opportunities of drivers trying to make themselves a chance to make a berth into the playoffs without a Brendan Gregg and as well Doug Tuttle. But both of those drivers' playoff chances are snuffed out. We're down to our final four. One race to crown a Twigi iRacing Series champion. We've had plenty of long races, a long season for these drivers, but we are now down to just one more race to go. Who's going to get it done? We can't wait to give you the coverage here on Blitz Racing Network. One more race for us to cover this series, one more race to crown a champion. We cannot wait to give you that coverage. It will be right here next week, Friday night, on the Blitz Racing Network. Myself, Sam Dyer, Matt Dyer will give you the call, and we cannot wait to crown a new champion. We'll see you next week.